noise.
Welcome back to the next part of this Truth and Rhythm episode. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. If you've already done so, please share it with friends. Also become a member by joining Truth and Rhythm on Patreon, or consider donating at funkinstuff.net. Thank you so much for your interest and support. Enjoy.
What was the live show like though for the band? You know, if I had seen Platypus in 1979, 1980, what would it have been like?
It was high energy. You know, we went from being a group that did choreography and stepping and stuff to just grooving on stage how you wanted to groove to the music that we was playing. And that, it was high energy though. And, you know, people enjoyed what we did, you know, but it was high energy and everybody would just groove. And that was one of the things that was different with white acts as opposed to black acts. Blacks acts had more of a rehearsed approach to their show, where white acts, they just got on stage and grooved to the music, and everybody, whatever your groove was, that was okay, because that's where you was at, and over in the corner, somebody might be grooving differently. So that's what Platypus adopted, you know, as our approach to being on stage. So it created a high energy thing, and it went over well.
Okay. Yeah. So what transpired to the second record? You know, what changed about the approach and the process, and, you know, what was that experience like?
Well, you know, Art Stewart, who I had worked with many times based on, he was one of the engineers at Motown Records. And with me doing a lot of background vocals and what have you with Hal Davis, I came to befriend Art Stewart way before he produced Platypus, the second album, Cherry. The good thing was that when his name came up, you know, me and Kerry pretty much had somewhat of a rapport with him. We might not have had worked with him in a while, but there was periods you'd see people a lot, and then you'd be periods you don't see them, you know. And but we knew him and he knew us, and that was good. But because, and this is how the industry works, we earned the right to produce the first album. But because record sales were not as grand as they wanted them to be, they wanted to bring in a producer. And that's just how the industry thinks. Well, they didn't get it done. Maybe we'll bring somebody in and we'll get it done this next time, you know. So they brought Art in, and Art did a good job, you know, brought some good songs to the table, and a lot of the stuff was ours. And he brought some things. One of my favorite songs, I was listening to it the other day, Giving You All My Love. Kerry sings that. And I think he did a wonderful job on that. And that was a Art Stewart song that he brought. And there was another one that I led. It was Colorblind. Yeah, it was a good song. So, but you know, he brought his thing. We had a more of a raw approach to our recording of the music, where most producers kind of gather things and make it a little bit smoother with their approach to doing it. It worked, and it was a good job, you know. So I don't think anybody was unhappy with it, to my knowledge, anyhow, but I think it came off well.
I thought it was a solid record. I mean,
Yeah,
I
thought so.
I like tracks too, like Pearl and
Yeah, Pearl was hot.
Ice Cream Delight. Some more good guitar there.
Yeah.
Have a Good
Now that
Time.
I have to speak on the Cherry album. That's when we got Jerry Johnstone. We call him Stony Rock. He was a guitar player. He was probably about, if he wasn't right out of high school, he was at least a year to two out of high school at when Larry passed. And Curdy and Jones had jammed with him, and they immediately thought he would be a great, because he was very close to where Larry was in his playing, his style. And Jerry came in and did a fantastic job, as you can hear in his guitar work on Cherry. He got in there as a young guy, but you could see he was many years ahead in playing guitar.
What was the process like in the studio? Did the music get laid down first and then the vocals put on top, or did you guys kind of do it together?
Generally, now I don't know how they're doing it this day, but I'm still old school when I do tracks. You lay your basic tracks down first, and then you start your overdubbing, whether that's instruments or whether that's vocals. But you get your bass track, laid to where you're happy with it. It's got the right feel, it's got the right groove, and then you start to build on it from there. And build on it, I mean overdubs, whatever that might be. And then in most cases, you might put a dummy vocal down, but to help the band know where they're at. But the vocals really you don't start really getting into vocals till all the music is laid, overdubs and everything.
You had the Earth, Wind & Fire's sax player guest on there too, on that one, Dana Meyers.
Yes. Well, this probably on that particular, that would have been an Art Stewart thing, since he was producing the track. He brought in some people, and like I said, I like it. I still like listening to it, from time to time. And Appreciate Your Love was a song that me, Dana, and Weatherspoon wrote. And Dana had always led it, but Art, I believe he liked it. He wanted to do it. So with the high notes and everything, that was a song that I ended up singing. When I only used to sing one part of it, Dana did a great job of singing it, but he wasn't with us anymore. So I ended up getting drafted to do it, and it came out great.
Who are some of your biggest influences singing wise, would you say?
Well, growing up, it started with, the Temptations was the Temptations was the end all of all singing in groups, and then you had the Impressions. They were great harmonies. Intruders, Smokey, the Delphonics, Tempries. But see, that was the early. Now, and here's what's interesting. I was in church choir, and a lot of Blacks like to say that they got their beginning, and it played its part. But where my real training came was high school choir at Roth High School. And what was great about it, it broadened my appeal for music. We sang songs that most Blacks wouldn't even pay attention to. Matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match. Find me a... I mean, I wouldn't have been listening to that normally, but when we sang it, I said, that's nice. Then we had the good harmonies to it. Tonight, won't be just... I would not have been introduced to that had I not been in the choir. And so that helped broaden. So, and I'm saying that to start talking about Chicago, the band, the harmonies that they had, the musicianship. It introduced me to Doobie Brothers. harmonies, which maybe had I not been in a high school choir learning other things to broaden my appeal for music, who knows, maybe I would have liked it anyhow, maybe I wouldn't. Yes, John Anderson, always loved his vocal, and the harmonies was just, I love their harmonies, So all of those influences, became, as I grew, became more of a part of me, and of course, at Fifth Dimension, I was a big fan of theirs. I love Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Their harmonies was through the roof, So it was a lot of things that influenced me, and association. Mamas and the Papas. Great harmonies and singing. So all of that helped broaden my love of an appeal for music, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What did you get exposed to at Casablanca, at the time? Did you cross paths ever with, George Clinton or that side of things, or with anyone from, the Donna Summer Camp or any of the other acts that they had?
I don't remember having any. Now that's I'm talking about me. I can't speak for Curdy or Carey or Jones. They might have been at the company, but I never did recall crossing paths with any of the other major artists there. So in answer to your question, I don't remember meeting anyone. No.
Did they ever try to, or it sounds like they did not, but I would think maybe they would try to put you guys, opening maybe for shows for one of the other Casablanca acts or something like that. That didn't happen.
I think that would have happened had the group had gotten a decent, sizable response to the record and the music. They do those kind of things to help pump it up, once it gets, kind of gets going. But no, that never, to my knowledge, we never had that talk. Now, at the time we was at Casablanca, Mark Gordon was managing us, him and Al Biaggi. And if you remember Mark Gordon, he was the manager for the Fifth Dimension. And he was married to Florence LaRue in the Fifth Dimension. So he was managing us. I can't say that wasn't discussed with them in the company. But to my knowledge, I don't know of anything like that happening.
Did you have any sense of some of the sort of excesses that were going on at Casablanca at the time with Neil Bogart and all that stuff? Now they have this movie coming out later this year, Spinning Gold, that's about, the whole Casablanca Records empire and how it came tumbling down, that whole thing.
Well, actually, I'm going to tell you, when we came to Casablanca, Neil Bogart was probably headed out because he wasn't that much longer, because Bruce Byrd, who signed us, ended up being the top man at Casablanca while we were there. And he moved on up to the top. So I'm going to say, and that wasn't known to the public, but when you see things happen later, you can kind of figure, well, when we come in, he probably was already looking to leave, So the company had been built. I don't know if there was some other politics going on there or not, but what's interesting about what you said about Casablanca, Christian Wycane.
Oh yeah, I see that name here, Christian John Wycane. It says
there. You go. That's the gentleman. He was a major a fan of Platypus. He was doing an article on Casablanca, and he was doing, Donna Summer, Kiss, but he also decided he wanted to see what other groups was there that wasn't as big but was part of the label. And this was his story as he shared with me. And he saw Platypus, the name, and did some looking into the music. Fell in love with Dancing in the Moonlight. Absolutely fell in love with it. and he wanted to know more about the group. So he ended up doing a whole interview piece on all of us in the group. He called people and talked to them on the phones and then he did a whole thing. It's called Pop Matters. It's online and you probably can go look it up. And he did the whole thing about Platypus. So when you mentioned that about what you were saying about the Platypus, that's, the Casablanca thing, it made me think of him. And he did that. And then from him listening to more music and loving Dancing in the Moonlight, he was already writing notes for CDs for Big Break Records in England for many, and he went to them and said, this music needs to be released again like these others. And lo and behold, they listened to him. And as they say, the rest is history. It got released. And that was really a wonderful thing to happen, a blessing, because it just gave the music a chance to get back out. And for other people who were fans of Platypus or never heard of us and wanted to just check it out, it gave them that opportunity to do that. So kudos to Christian for, and my joke is for showing that he's got great taste. You know, it's a joke I use on stage with the group I sing with, the Motown Sounds of Touch. Usually at the end of the night when we're finishing up a show, I will acknowledge the people that brought us to town, to perform and do the Motown tribute. And I say they just demonstrated that they have absolutely great taste for bringing us here. And that's a joke because I'm complimenting us and them at the same time. So,
I noticed on that Cherry album also that Otis had a writing credit. So
yes, I think that's called Have a Good Time or something.
Yeah.
That was a song that I believe Otis had that lick, the guitar lick to that song. And that's how that came about. And we collaborated. I think it might have had 3 writers on it. But we collaborated and did that. And it came out really nice. We brought in some people to have party sounds in the studio and what have you before the song got going. And yeah, I got a very talented brother. Otis is a very talented individual.
So after that record came out, what transpired? I mean, did you get any kind of promotion and marketing? And did how'd you feel about what happened?
Well, here again, I think when this particular project Cherry came out, this was how the industry, I don't know how it is now, but back in the day, you might get one chance if they decide to record you. Some people give you 2 chances. And some people might decide, I'm going to stay with this until we get something. We got 2 opportunities, and for whatever the reason, we didn't get the backing. We didn't get whatever we needed for us to make that big splash. Because what's funny, it was a guy that's on Facebook. This is about a year or 2 ago. I guess he had heard Dancing in the Moonlight, and he put on one of his pages that is dedicated to Dayton music and whatever. He said, how in the world did this not become an international pop smash hit, And I just answered him. I said, I've always thought that myself many times, and I thanked him for his comment. But, some things in life just don't happen. And it could be based on 1 or 2 things or a myriad of things. I don't think it was the music. I think it was maybe the promotion. And going back to what Mother's Finest lead vocalist was sharing, she was right. There was just sometimes people just didn't know what to do or how to do it at that time. Now they're much better with it now. But at that time, they struggled. And you brought out a point that was 2 years after with Prince getting people throwing stuff at him. was 2 years after we was with Casablanca. So isn't that what you said?
Yeah, well, actually, it was 81, so it's only 1 year after your second record.
Yeah, what? Yeah. So see, that shows if he got stuff thrown at him on stage and he went on to be one of the greatest pop artists of all times, people really wasn't ready if they was throwing stuff at him. So that for us, and he was out on tour. I think they said he was on tour with somebody, opening for somebody, and the people got to booing and then was whatever. I don't know. So it was just that we were in a time ahead of our times, and people wasn't quite ready for an act that wasn't being black, didn't have a total black sound.
Yeah. Well, there was also tremendous disco backlash by 1980, right around there. And, a lot of the black acts were, just even unheard, oh, it's disco. We're anti-disco now.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, I can tell you a story, a short story. I told you earlier, we used to play Yes Roundabout. We did Siberian Couture, but Roundabout, we used to play a lot of dates that were for whites. And I'm going to tell you something. They expected to hear Kool and the Gang or James Brown or something. But when we would play Roundabout, and not just play it, we got it done. Larry was magnificent with Steve Howe's guitar work. And he even would improvise. He would knew it so well, he could kind of throw in some of what he wanted to do. Whenever we played for white audiences, Scott, they just loved us because they didn't expect that. And not only when you do it, I give you another example. That's like our average white band. Blacks could appreciate them because they was getting it done. They not only didn't think you was black, we didn't think you were white, but you got the job done. And they could really appreciate that. And I think that's how we were appreciated from when people would hear us do Roundabout, So that's the surprise that our audience would get when we would do that. And that was the surprise in our sound that the promotional people, I think, had to struggle with trying to get radio airplay.
That Cherry album cover, a little bit Touch of Ohio Players kind of.
And
that cover too,
what's funny? We had nothing to do with that album cover. We had everything to do with the first one and nothing to do with the second one. And I think once they found out we were from Dayton, Ohio, and knew that in the Ohio Players, and you want to play on that. You want to use it to whatever it's worth, So, but nice looking girl. I never met her, never saw her or anything, So they got a good, nice looking young lady, but. Yeah, that's got, as they say, is pretty Ohio playerish.
How did you and the guys take the news of getting dropped?
Well, whenever you get fired, whether it's at Casablanca or at Kroger, I don't know if people receive it too well, but life goes on, and the music that was just released by Super Disco Edits. That was a byproduct after we left Casablanca. We cut some new stuff to get a deal, which it didn't happen, but that was music that was recorded after we left Casablanca.
Okay, so that just came out last year, right? In the
yes,
fall.
October. Yes.
Yeah.
Just released it in October, and from what I understand, it's been received pretty good.
So that's I Like Your Lovin', and I Never Knew Love Could Feel This Way.
Right.
Yeah.
And Like Your Lovin' was inspired by Lloyd Jones, and everybody's credited as writers. And I Never Knew Love, Dana Meyers, Belinda Liscombe, and Jeffrey Cooper of Midnight Star wrote that.
Yeah, another great Dayton act, Midnight Star, and the Calloway family. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Midnight Star. I tell you, right in that little area, Ohio and Cincinnati and Dayton, they was because I think some of the deal members are out of Cincinnati, as well. So it just as they say, something was in the water, you know.
Yeah.
Mm.
So how did it come to pass, though, that you finally got those records out and that music out there for people to be able to hear and enjoy?
We're talking I Like Your Lovin'.
Yeah.
What's interesting, the same way that you reached out to me to want to do something on Platypus, that's how this company reached out, wondering if Platypus had any other music that had not been released, And what's interesting about them, they absolutely are not interested in anything but something that hasn't been released. That means if it was a filler for an album, they don't want it. If it was a B-side to another song, they don't want that. They want stuff that's never been released. And we had some stuff that hadn't been released, and they listened to it and liked it. And it's out there for people to enjoy and to purchase and get some more Platypus.
What kind of reaction have you gotten or heard about?
I've only heard good reports on it. They're liking it. And the record company, people are buying it. All of the promotional copies for it got sold out, so whoever their disc jockeys are that get music from them, they ran out of it. So, and they said that it's moving pretty well with the public as well.
And is there any more in the vault somewhere?
Well, we'll see. We have some other things that we recorded that hasn't been released. Now, whether those songs will be to someone's liking, like I Like Your Lovin' and I Never Knew Love, that's how you get things released. Somebody have to like it, I tell that people that with booking entertainment, they be saying, Stokes, man, why don't you book something? I said, I can't just make anybody book you. I can put you in front of them, and if they like you, then we can move forward, So it's the same concept, If they like something else, and then we'll release something else, But otherwise, that would be probably the most of it.
So what happened with you and the fellas after that? Did you guys still continue to perform as Platypus, or did you just kind of go your separate ways?
We kind of just went our separate ways, and people is just doing other things. And I started singing. Me and Weatherspoon has sung off and on over the years. He was with the Four Corners and early part of Platypus, but we've been singing now easily a good 15, 20 years with the group, the Motown Sounds of Touch, as a Motown tribute. And so we're singing, everybody else is doing whatever they're doing. Curdy, I know he's a master drummer. He's doing a lot of things. He do some things with the Deal. He plays some. He's played with Slave. He's done some dates with Lakeside, because he's that good. Jones is doing some things in Vegas. He lives in Vegas and plays bass. Kerry is doing more releasing a product, working with other acts and stuff. Jerry Johnstone, he is still playing guitar. He plays with other people. He plays in the church. He travels with gospel groups or Christian groups, and he's playing secular music as well. So he's a great guitarist, so he stays busy. And with me is Tajay Music, and which is my production company, and I book entertainment. I record acts. I record myself. My son and my two nephews, they have a group called First Cousin, because they're all first cousins. And we did a project on them through CD Baby. So I try to stay, and I'm working on a movie project I'm not at liberty to talk about, but once we're very close to getting the ball rolling, I'm involved with the soundtrack music. And they're looking at getting started with some filming of the scenes here in the near future. And I'm looking forward to going back into the studio to get started on some music for that. And, just doing whatever music that's available that keeps me interested and that's paid. That's important. Because I'm still, when I pull into a gas station, I don't know many of them that's just letting people get gas for nothing. So I jokingly tell people, as long as I can keep some gas in the car and be able to buy a bag of potato chips when I want some, I can move ahead. And what's interesting, I found out from working with Hal Davis, and I've learned just because I did it don't make anything good or great. I can be proud of it, but see, that's some good music. Cherry album and the first album was really some good music. So I can say that and know it's based on the music and not my ego or me because I did it. Hal Davis, may rest in peace, boy. He taught me. I would come up to the office at Motown sometime with a song, excited about it. And he would, Hakim, what were you doing right here, man? I'm not really feeling what you're doing right here. He would tell he was just being a producer, But it taught me that when he liked something, he liked it. And if he didn't, he'd say that. And that helped me to learn that everything that I do is not good or great. But yes, there are some things that I do that really, really got it going on, And that taught me over the years that if somebody don't like what I did, okay, I'm not offended. I mean, people ain't gonna like everything. But then the things that are good and people are liking it, I can be proud of it and know that I figured that some people could like this, So that's kind of just how it is in this business,
Are you more partial to the first or second record?
You know what? The only reason I would be partial to the first one is because it was the first one. We finally got it. We got signed with a major label, got a really nice product out. But both of them got some good music on it. I mean, I really, I could tell you on, like I told you, Running from Love is clearly one of my favorites on the first. I like Dancing in the Moonlight. I like, I love The Way You Funk. That's a great track. A lot of people like that. And then I can go to Cherry and say, Appreciate Your Love and Giving You All My Love and Ice Cream Dream Delight. I can name you some things on there that's got some good stuff happening, So I guess I'm not really partial to anyone musically because they both got good music. I would be partial to the first one only because that was our first truly successful situation that happened. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's so good to have you still, with us and doing stuff and bringing it back with the unreleased material. And
I always say, praise God for all good. I give him all the credit all the time. So I'm thankful too to be able to continue to do it. I tell people I don't take it for granted, Scott. I don't. Because it's a lot of people, when me and Weatherspoon singing somewhere, we see people in high school, man, y'all still doing it. And I tell them, I don't take this for granted. It's a blessing to be able to do it. And these are some guys that we used to sing in talent shows that has quit doing it years ago. And they're just happy to see that we're still able to do it.
Absolutely. Do you want to give people a website or social media or anything like that to
people can go, if they want to check on a Platypus, you can go to Facebook for anybody that wants to know about anything that we're doing. We do post things there. Just go on Facebook and put in Platypus. You should put in a music group, Platypus, and it'll come up. Other than that, my business, Tajay Music Entertainment, you can put that in and that'll bring up anything that I'm doing these days. And that's pretty much about it. Yeah.
Outstanding. It's been so much fun talking to you. Thank you so much for the stories.
Fun. Yeah. Well, it's funny. I tell people all the time, I got stories, man. I got stories. And because, meeting Michael Jackson. I didn't even get into that. Going to his home, being invited over there by Tito, when he was in New York doing The Whiz, So it's just a lot of stories. But here again, those are just a lot of wonderful things that happen. And, so much that I've done. I toured with Heat Wave in Europe for a while. Did a tour with them, England, Holland, Switzerland, and Germany. Johnny Wilder at the time, he had the accident and needed a vocalist, and he called me. He said, Hakim, can you hit the high notes I do on Always and Forever? I said, of course, man. Sing first tenor, So I was hired to tour over in Europe with them, had a great time. And, I've been blessed. I've been blessed to experience a lot of things and to do some things that most people can only dream about and think about. So I'm thankful, and I praise God for every good thing that He's done. And I feel like my best days are ahead of me.
There you go. Amen.
So
wow, Heat Wave. Well, regretfully, there's not really any folks around still from that group. I've wanted to tell their story also. But I mean, it's really, I had Keith Harrison has been on, and he worked some with them, and Sheldon Reynolds has been on, and he's played some with them.
I actually came. I came with them after Keith had been there. Keith was there. Then they got Evan Rogers, and then I came in.
I'm here to be the messenger and document whatever I can while we still have great folks like you still with us.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of us still blessed to be around, and talk about the good old days and the so much music that has influenced this generation that we're hearing now, So,
yeah, did Platypus get sampled much?
If they do, I wouldn't know about it. I haven't heard anything. Now, I'm going to tell you, there's a very close. I've always thought that the Gap Band song borrowed our bass line from Love the Way You Funk. I've always thought that because it's very close. If you, I'm trying to think of.
Burn Rubber.
It might be Burn Rubber. That the two bass lines is very, very close. And we had Out Love the Way You Funk before that. And I know I used to. In fact, Don Alexander and Lonnie Simmons, they were all friends and back in the day in Los Angeles because they had total experience. At the time, they had the Gap Band, and they used to come through Dayton in the early days. And, we all would give our CDs, pass them out, our records, just sharing what we're doing. I hope people can say, hey, what you did is great. And I feel, it's not a big deal. I'm just saying that it reminds me of what we did. I'm not saying anybody stole anything or anything like that. There's a lot of things that people do. And there was I think it was one of the Beatles songs. She's so fine, doodle-lang, doodle-lang. I think they went to court.
My Sweet Lord. It was a George
Yeah,
Harrison.
My Sweet Lord. Yeah. They were saying that he got that from them, and it ended up they didn't charge him with that because first of all, when I first heard it, I said, I think that some chords can just be similar and people do things because when you think of the Beatles, they were some of the most creative guys to come along in such a long time. That if it sounds like, I doubt if they were still in anything because they was just that creative, and they was coming up with stuff all the time. So I'm just saying, that it's a compliment if they did hear it and decided they wanted to borrow it. It was a compliment because it was a great bass line. Compliments to Lloyd Rock Jones, Yeah. Well, I appreciate you for having me, for thinking about us, and God bless you for it. And who knows, somebody may see this and say, hey, let me go and look up some of that music and see if I can buy something.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Keep it out there.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Truth in Rhythm. A big thank you goes out to our guest as well as to you, the viewer and listener. Also, much gratitude to Pleasure for supplying the show's funky opening and closing music. As a reminder, you can always access the complete list of linked shows by episode at funkandstuff.net. I urge you to support this program and receive the extra benefits along with that by subscribing to the Funk and Stuff channel on YouTube and sharing it with funk, R&B, and jazz lovers, joining Truth and Rhythm's membership program at Patreon, submitting a donation at funkandstuff.net, buying Everything is on the One, the First Guide to Funk book at Amazon, shopping at the Funky Things store for cool merchandise at funkandstuff.net, and linking through funkandstuff.net for all of your Amazon purchases. In addition, if you're an artist or anyone seeking proven, results-oriented professional marketing, PR, writing, or editing consultation or production, check out the media services section at funkandstuff.net. Also, I encourage you to drop me a line at scottg@funkandstuff.net. I love the feedback, suggestions, guest requests, appearance and sponsorship inquiries, and just talking about my favorite subject, groove-based music. For now, and as always, this is Scott Dr. GX Goldfine saying, keep on vibing to the rhythm of the one.